Hi, I am Rebecca Treanor of REEP Equity, a vertically integrated investment firm focused on the multifamily sector. And since our beginnings in 2012, we have helped hundreds of investors utilize their retirement accounts to invest in multifamily real estate. Today, I am joined by one of those investors and a fellow REEP Equity colleague, Jack Folden, to discuss the process, benefits, and factors to consider when using your retirement funds to invest in multifamily.
Thanks for having me, Rebecca. I'm excited to talk a bit more about some of my experiences investing with a self-directed IRA and hopefully educating future self-directed IRA investors as well.
Well, thank you, Jack. And to begin, what motivated you to invest in multifamily using your IRA?
Yes, it's a great question. Well, I am one who has a little bit longer runway before retirement. And with that being said, I wanted to select a long-term investment vehicle, right? And what better fit for a long-term investment vehicle than an IRA? So I really wanted to take a bit of a set it and forget it method or approach to investing with my IRA, if you will. And that was something that multifamily provided, right? Being a little bit longer term investment vehicle, typically maybe a 5-year hold, not to mention the tax benefits that come with an IRA as well as multifamily real estate. So a couple things there that really helped and aided in my decision to self-direct an IRA, right? And I've also of course, seen much of the success that other self-directed IRA investors have seen using those IRAs to invest in multifamily real estate.
And if you will, Jack, describe the type of IRA that you had and which custodian, how did you choose which custodian to go with?
Absolutely. The golden question. So, with my IRA, initially, well, of course, still a Roth IRA that was held with your traditional custodian, right? Perhaps it's a Fidelity, a Charles Schwab, Power, so on and so forth, right? In choosing a custodian, there's lots of things to take into account, right? And it all boils down to user slash customer experience. With that being said, fee structure was at the top of my list, right? I wanted to ensure that the fees made sense for the size of my IRA and, of course, the investments that I would be making. And that brings in another conversation, right? If you're looking to invest in multifamily real estate, you probably want to find a custodian that works with lots of multifamily investors, right? And there are certain IRA custodians who specialize in other asset classes, right? Perhaps you want to invest in cryptocurrency. Well, if you're looking to invest in multifamily, that should certainly be a conversation that you have with your potential IRA custodian, right? It also, one thing definitely worth looking into is their client experience, customer success, right? What do those Google reviews look like? What do testimonials look like on the IRA custodian's website? So, lots of things to take into account. Typically, fee structure, client feedback, speaking with custodians. Of course, you want to speak with more than one, right? So, those were all things that I took into account when selecting a self-directed IRA custodian.
Well, thank you, Jack. And now that the decision to invest has been made, talk a little more on the process of investing with your IRA. What is that first step?
Right, great question. So the first step, of course, is having that IRA established and funded, right? It's not as overwhelming of a process as it sounds like, right? We've helped many investors do it, and I've encountered the process, right? It's very streamlined should you pick the right custodian, of course. The next step would be identifying the asset you're looking to invest in, right? For me, it's multifamily, as it is for thousands of other self-directed IRA investors. And in doing that, right, it comes down to submitting that soft commitment, right, on the investment that you're looking to make, perhaps communicating a bit with the investment firm and your self-directed IRA custodian. Then eventually, really all you're going to have to do is sign what's called read and approved signatures, which is very simple, right? I would even say perhaps investing with a self-directed IRA at times can be easier than investing using cash, right? If you're investing with the right team. So those are the typical steps taken with an emphasis on having that IRA established and funded, of course. Great question.
So, we talked on the process of how to invest. Now that you've invested in a deal, the property is closed. How are you receiving or tracking those distributions that are coming from the profit of the property?
Yes, great question, right? And this is a question that we get quite a bit, right? Because distributions are always going to be sent directly back to the IRA, right? I am utilizing a tax deferred retirement account for a reason, and you don't want to initiate any kind of situation where a tax implication would be incurred, right? So to answer your question, Rebecca, in tracking those distributions, they're issued directly back to the IRA. You're receiving monthly reporting from the investment firm, just as you would with any other kind of cash investment. It's a very streamlined process with really little to no action required on the investors or my end in this case.
And can you speak a little more on those reporting? Talking on the distributions, understanding that those are going back to your IRA account or the self-directed IRA custodian. But as for the performance of the property, those monthly reporting, financials, tell me more on that.
Absolutely, yes. And this is another question where I would say it's very similar to making a cash investment, right? Still tracking the overall performance of that investment via monthly financial reporting. And of course, it's also important to note, right, when you invest in multifamily with your preferred operator, you're going to have an investor portal to access. Well, as a self-directed IRA holder, you're also going to have a portal with that IRA custodian, right? So in tracking the overall performance, tracking distributions, it should be done on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, whichever you prefer. But you're also going to be able to see the distributions in both portals, right? However, you'll see the funds being sent back directly to that self-directed IRA within their portal, right? Your preferred custodian. But it all boils down to being very simple and similar to making a cash investment. There are very few differences other than everything remaining under the tax deferred umbrella of an individual retirement.
And lastly, what type of tax documents are you receiving each year?
Great question. So, still receiving a K-1, right, from the investment firm, very similar to a cash investment, as I've said several times. However, when investing through a tax deferred vehicle like a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, so on and so forth, it's important to note typically these K-1s are very informational or essentially reported for informational purposes. There's very little tax liability, tax implication, and in the case that there is a document tax form called a 990T and be prepared by either your self-directed IRA custodian or your CP in the event that that is necessary.
Thank you again for joining us today. We hope you found this educational video on IRA investments into multifamily informative. And as always, if you have any further questions on utilizing your retirement funds to invest in multifamily, feel free to reach out to us via email at invest@reapequity.com.
Thank you for having me, Rebecca. It's been a fantastic conversation, and please feel free to comment and share with any colleagues perhaps interested in self-directing their retirement funds as well.